We're due for a banned and restricted announcement here in just a few days after the wrap of national season. Now, this is an important one for a couple of reasons. First and most obvious is, of course, Pro Tour Amsterdam. But it also carries major weight for Blitz, as this is potentially the only update we'll get headed into Skirmish Season 9. So today, let's chat the state of things across CC, Blitz, and even Commoner, what I'd like to see happen, and then realistically what I think probably will or won't happen. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. And thanks so much for checking in here on your Flesh and Blood Friday, headed into the final weekend of Nat season. And so if you're in the US, happy holiday weekend. I hope things are going well for you and your family and that you have all your extremities attached and all of that. But yes, all jokes aside, last weekend of the Nats 3-week cycle, which, by the way, threw me off. I didn't realize that US Nats was actually happening the weekend before Nats season started. So it's a 3-week Nats season, but it was really 4 because US happened. Anyway, either way, this will be the last weekend. And then on Tuesday, July 8th, which will end up probably dropping either late Monday evening in the US time frame, or the US time zone, excuse me, or maybe when we wake up Tuesday morning, it'll be up. Either way, we're expected to see the next iteration of the banned and restricted announcement. So what I want to do today, you can see we have this PTI style. I'm going to go through kind of the situation we're looking at. Then I want to talk about each of the formats. Now, if you're not interested in one or some of the formats, I'll actually put timestamps below so you can skip ahead if you choose to do so. And I want to be very clear as we go through this. I'm going to, of course, give my opinion on things, but I am not a top tier player, right? Just throwing that out there. But I'm giving my opinion in terms of what I'm seeing kind of on the ground and at the armory level. And we have this conversation a lot about, the impact of high, how it can be balanced there and not below, and so on. So let's get into this. Now, the previous B and R, which I have there B and S because it keeps switching around, but it's B and R, banned and restricted. In the last one, we saw Crown of Seeds go away, and we saw Berserk go away. Now, Berserk went away immediately in all formats. Crown of Seeds went away in Classic Constructed and will be gone as of July 8th in Blitz. Now, the reason for that's pretty obvious. We have Grandpa Terra on the horizon, right? That's very clear now why they were like, okay, we'll let you play with it for one more month, but before Terra comes out, we're going to get rid of it. And I think that also feeds into, in the intro I'd mentioned this was likely or potentially the last one that we'll see before Skirmish Season 9. And I think that data point alone, the fact that Crown of Seeds is going away, because Terra, I think, comes out officially, it'll be released at Gen Con, which is the first, but I think it officially releases on the 18th to the 21st or something like that. And by that, I mean the first strike decks are like 3 or 4 days before Skirmish Season starts as their release date. So the fact that he's not releasing until then implies to me that the next BNR won't be before that, right? Otherwise, they could potentially give us more time. Anyway, that's not really here nor there. Let's go ahead and start talking Classic Constructed. So I went ahead and gathered some data here because I think it's very interesting to put where we are at currently within part the Mistveil meta versus what the heavy hitters meta looked like. And I think it's fair to do, well, I want to be clear, yes, it's very, very, very early in PTM, but I want to put that I want to put the two things in context in terms of how people are feeling versus how they felt in heavy hitters, and then what I think that means to the BNR. Okay. So if you look at what I have across the screen right now, these are the current Living Legend points accumulated just in Mist season, right? So I intentionally omitted the column where it looks at total points because that's not relevant to what we're talking about completely here. What I want to look at specifically is the points earned by each hero so far during Mistveil season, okay? So we have, Zen has 295 points. New has 175 points. That's through week 2. We saw Zen come out very strong out of the gate. last weekend of Nat season, we saw that new actually overtook that. So that's cool. We have change in flight, and that of itself speaks to, so something we need to consider is that because this is coming out on Tuesday, they are likely already have a good idea of what they want to do or not do, and in terms of this BNR, and then they'll just use this last weekend to maybe fine tweak it or make sure that it makes sense, right? But I think by and large, they're already going to have an idea of what they want to do. So the fact that new is starting to creep up and eat that piece of the pie from Zen, I think it means that we are less likely to see something. That said, if we compare the points of, so in heavy hitter season, there were 3,300 Living Legend points available, 100, like basically 1,200 of which were gained by heroes released in that set. So 35.5%, 17% of which were earned by Kayo, right? So that was the complete heavy hitters season. Now, if we go to the Part the Mistveil season, so far there's been just over 1,000 points, with obviously more to come this next weekend and Pro Tour and all that, right? But as of today, as of July 2nd, there are just over 1,000 points, 555 of which have been earned by Mistveil heroes. Okay, so that's 53.6% of the pie. So now I want folks to get in the Wayback Machine and go back to a lot of the complaints or the feedback or whatever we want to call it of how folks were feeling in Mistveil season, that Kayo was too strong, or heavy hitters, that Kayo was too strong and too dominant, and that heavy hitters had been too strong. And I think this data very clearly says, granted, albeit very early in the meta, that Mistveil is taking a significantly larger chunk than the heavy hitters set did out of the meta. Now, yes, it is still early, but it's also early, and typically it takes longer for the new heroes to get into the swing of things than not. So they're coming out of the gate absolutely swinging. Furthermore, with all of the complaints and heavy hitters about how fast Kayo was ascending, Zen has currently grabbed just shy of 30%, 28.5% of the points. Now again, yes, new has started to upcreep on him. So we do not expect that number to hold. That 28.5%, we don't expect that to hold. But I do think it's reasonable in terms of the vibe out there and the feedback that some people are giving. When you really put the numbers on it, I think it's fair to at least feel that way. Now, just because we feel that way, does that mean anything needs done? Okay, so Zen. Does anything get done on Zen? I don't think anything needs done based on what we've seen happen. I do think, though, I think they're going to do lightest touch for Zen. I personally think the boots, so a Strider boot so that you can't Art of War, that's probably the easiest one for them to do. They might have something more elegant. Now, do I think something needs done? No, but yes, I think they will do something. And it comes down to, yes, this is me being a bit snarky, but it's always this feeling in Flesh and Blood of aggro is dumb, control is smart. And what I mean by that, and obviously I'm being sarcastic there for my feelings, but there are a lot of people that when an aggro hero that you can just dump on the board, right? Cheerios Briar. Think about the entire history of Flesh and Blood. When aggro is leading the way early and is strong, people want things done. When control is leading the way early, it's a smart game. We don't need anything done, right? So I believe that the feedback from the top tier players who want skill to matter the most, which again is completely fair, will put pressure on LSS to change something. And I think something will happen because of that. I also think those smart players can iterate. But again, you have this feeling, not of myself, but there's often the feeling within the Flesh and Blood community that if an aggro deck is winning, that something needs done. And I think that will get upheld. Okay. So we will see on Tuesday, Monday evening, what they decide to do. But I do believe that there will be some slight, ever so slight change for Zen just to decrease his winning potential a little bit. All right, now let's move into Blitz. So this is obviously something I'm very passionate about. I believe that something has to be done. I don't have a lot of confidence that something will be. So let's talk about the current state of Blitz. Blitz coming out of Skirmish Season 8, and I'm not the only one that feels this way. DM Armada has been doing a great job of Blitz coverage, talking about how he believes Blitz is in the greatest spot it's ever been. I caveat that with, though, it was. Blaze has significantly changed the face of Blitz. And there's a couple impacts there, not just her being able to do wildfire pop-offs and all that sort of stuff. And in fact, wildfire, I think, is actually not necessarily her best play always, right? So, well, I mean, wildfire is the easy one to go shoot, but let's carry on here, right? So what happened at a skirmish is when Kano went away, it changed. It gave people more sideboard slots because they had to carry less AB. And aside from Rhinar, there was really no one who would just blow you out of the water, right? And Rhinar was able to be handled by certain heroes because of the amount of armor that they have. Bring in Blaze, things very, very, very much change. She can get turn 1 wins, well, almost probably more consistently than Kano, or than Rhinar, sorry. So anyway, I moral of the story here is something needs done on Blaze. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. So Savage Sash is the next one on my list there. I think I did a whole episode about this one. I think Savage Sash just needs hit. It's too good in Blitz to be able to just do those whoops OTK type turns. Blocks 2 and then lets you basically make 2 to 3 resources. It's just too good in Blitz. Not arguing for it to be in or out of CC, right? I think it's probably fine in CC. We see the results that we see. It's just too good in Blitz though, right? So Savage Sash, I absolutely expect this to get banned. I do not see a world in which this doesn't get banned, regardless of how Kayo is doing. It's just crazy on a Blood Rush Bellows turn or whatever for a pop-off. It has to go. So now let's move into Blaze specifically. I already kind of talked about Wildfire. I think that's the low-hanging fruit for them to go do. I do. I also don't like the stuff that actually makes her strong, right? Which is Absorb in Aether, Cindering Foresight. These are cards that have never really seen the light of play, and I don't expect them to do anything there. So I think what actually needs done here, and this is where I'll get the dislikes, I really think they need to really look at Stormstriders in this format. I think it's time. I don't necessarily think that will happen, but I think it's time to start having that conversation. Aether Wildfire with Blaze is actually not a problem. It's being able to Aether Wildfire with Stormstriders. And Stormstriders works with a lot more other stuff. So while yes, Aether Wildfire is the easy one, I think the right thing to do, not just in this situation, but for long term of the game, is to maybe, or of the format, I should say, is to probably look at Stormstriders. Okay. That said, what do I expect to happen? I think Aether Wildfire. It will probably be what they do because it's just an easy one. So something needs to happen for Blaze. I hope that it's not a lightest touch because I think it really is needed. And I'd really like to see Blitz go back to the great state it was before a month ago because it really, really, really was in a great spot. Last there, I have CC carryover for Zen. I do believe, so Zen is not super great in Blitz, but he's kind of like a whoops OTK that sometimes he can just come up with like 20 to 25 damage or more, right? And he's not, again, is he as good and is he as repeatable as Blaze? No. Is he as repeatable as Rhinar? No. Point of this is I expect that whatever they do in CC, they will do to Zen in Blitz. I think it'll carry over. I do. So if they do something in CC on Zen, I think we'll see it in Blitz. If they don't, then I don't think we'll see it. So I think that will carry. That's my call there. Okay. Now moving into Commoner, this one, I mean, I gave away the answer. I don't expect to see any changes in Commoner. I would really very much like to see something done. I've preached about it before. I would really like to see something get done with the RTT around the table kitty package. Okay, the boots, so Blood Scent, Pouncing Paws, and Tearing Shuko are very, very, very strong in the format. We've seen repeatedly Ninja continually, doesn't matter which Ninja, Ira's obviously the best of them, but it doesn't really matter which Ninja. Ninjas are very good in the format. Now, in the coming out of US Nats, there was the Commoner Gold foil there. We got the top 8, 5 Iras and Oldhim, a really cheeky Enigma. They got second place. And then I'm forgetting right now what it was an Icelander. It was an Icelander to round out the top 8. Right, but 5 Iras in the top 8. I think something needs done, right? And I don't know that it's necessarily an Ira quote unquote problem. I think it's all ninjas, because if they were to do something with Ira and not hit those 3 pieces of equipment specifically, I think you just see another ninja continue to carry the mantle. So I think something needs done there. But again, I expect no changes whatsoever for the commoner format. So anyway, hopefully as we've been going through this whole thing, you've been leaving me comments. What do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree with my thoughts? Do you agree with my predictions? Do you disagree with my predictions? What are your predictions? What do you think we're going to see here in a couple days? Anything? Nothing? What do you think, folks? Anyway, thanks for joining me. Happy Fab Friday. Go Commando, my friends.